is it has a phase detector, a loop filter, a loop amplifier and a voltage controlled oscillator. To proceed further, let us assume that the input signal to the phase lock
सभी को वीडियो का साउंड क्लियर है?
Yes sir.
Let us now again look at the phase lock loop which we started yesterday. This is the block diagram of the phase lock loop. It has a phase detector, a loop filter, a loop amplifier and a voltage controlled oscillator. To proceed further, let us assume that the input signal to the phase lock loop is an angle modulated signal of this kind. It has some amplitude, a carrier frequency and a phase modulation phi of t. And let us also assume that the VCO output is another sinusoidal signal with the same center frequency omega c and some arbitrary phase modulation, right, which will depend on what is the nature of this signal, because after all the VCO is governed by its input. The input, it has some signal, so depending on the variation of the input it will have some modulation here, right. So let us start from this onwards. You might notice that I have chosen the input signal to be a cosine function and the VCO output to be a sine function. That is deliberate and you will soon see the reason of why I have chosen like that. Okay, now let us proceed further. First of all, how do we realize a phase detector? Let us first discuss this issue a little bit and then we will look at the operation in more detail. A phase detector, a very simple realization of the phase detector is as follows. There are many ways of realizing a phase detector, but one of the simplest ways is to simply have a multiplier followed by a low pass filter. Okay. So, for example, if your input here is XRT, input here is E sub Vt, right, then the output as you can see, the output here will contain the sum frequency component as well as the difference frequency component. When you multiply these two signals, right, you will get sine into cosine and you can split it into a sum frequency component and a difference frequency component, right, and the difference frequency component will be a low pass component, right. Since omega ct is same in both of them, the difference term will contain only the difference between the two arguments phi t and theta t, and the sum will be at a frequency of centered at 2 omega c, which will be removed by the low pass filter, right. So basically if you look at the output of the low pass filter, let me call this E sub dt, that is a phase detector output. So I am realizing the phase detector as a set of these two blocks, right. Then E sub dt will be half of A sub c into A sub b, which are the two amplitudes of the two signals, into a constant k sub d, which is a constant of this circuit, into sine of phi of t minus theta of t. You agree with this? So this combination of a multiplier followed by a low pass filter will produce an output which is this, and as you can see, it is this output E sub dt is a function of the phase error, instantaneous phase error. If you consider phi of t as the instantaneous input phase and theta of t as the output phase coming from the VCO, right, then phi of t minus theta of t is some kind of a phase error between these two inputs, and you have an output here which somehow depends on this phase error. Of course it is not a linear dependence, there is a nonlinear dependence because of the function, sinusoid function that is coming to the picture, right, but nevertheless it is a dependence. Of course when phi of t minus theta t is small, then this nonlinear dependence will also become almost linear dependence, right, because you can approximate sin phi t minus theta t as equal to phi t minus theta t when the argument is small. Okay. So, k sub d is a phase detector constant which is associated, in fact this whole thing is a phase detector constant, but k sub d is associated with a multiplier. Multiplier in the phase detector. There are other ways of realizing a phase detector, but broadly this is the general principle, right. You can of course build other devices. So, this is how the phase detector of the phase lock loop will be characterized in our model here, because typically we will realize it using this combination. Let us also look at how the VCO can be characterized, because once I know the characterization of each block in this loop, then I can proceed with the analysis of this loop. That is what I am going to do, right, to gain the understanding that all of you are looking forward to. So, how do we model the VCO? The VCO can be modeled in the same way that we modeled an FM signal, right, because after all VCO is performing the same function. It will produce an output whose frequency deviation depends on the input voltage, right. So, that is the characterization of the VCO. So, it is the same characterization. So, what is the instantaneous frequency deviation of the signal that I have just depicted? You are saying that the VCO is producing an output A sub v sine of omega c t plus theta of t. So, what is the instantaneous frequency deviation? It is d theta by dt. This must be proportional to the input signal, right, and if you follow the notation that I have used in the diagram of the phase lock loop, input signal to the VCO is E sub Vt, right. So, d theta by dt is some constant, let me call it k sub v, that is a VCO constant times E sub Vt, or if you want to model the phase itself, theta of t is k sub v integral of E sub v alpha d alpha, right. So, these are the two equations which will model the VCO, right. The instantaneous phase of the VCO is governed by this equation, which is a standard FM equation, really nothing special about it. So, k sub v here is the VCO constant. Of course, you can work out what will be the dimensions of all of these constants that we discussed, right. Okay. So, we are now a characterization of every component that we need. Of course, we already know how to characterize a filter and how to characterize an amplifier. So, I do not have to spend time on that. The two new components that we had introduced were the phase detector and the VCO, which you have characterized now. So, having got a characterization for each of them, let us develop a mathematical model which will serve as a framework for our discussion or our understanding of the working of the phase lock loop. In this mathematical model, it will be nice if I can get rid of this omega c. Omega c has no direct role to play in this discussion, right, because omega c is present in the input as well as in the output, right. In fact, for all practical purposes, what is it that I would like to do? I would like to see understand how the phase lock loop produces an output whose instantaneous phase theta t is close to the input phase, which is phi of t. So, for all practical purposes, I can consider phi of t as some kind of an input to the system. Think of this as a system whose input is phi of t, right, the unknown phase, instantaneous phase, and I want to produce an output in a closed loop manner such that the theta t that I am producing follows phi of t, right. So, I would like to produce a model of that kind, right. So, if I were to do that, I can redraw that loop that I have just discussed, I have given to you earlier, in terms of an equivalent diagram like this. So, I am now talking about a model for the phase lock loop, mathematical model, which will help us to do the analysis. Of course, it turns out to be a nonlinear model, right. We will see why it is a nonlinear model very soon. What is it that we have? At the input we have the unknown phase phi of t, right, the incoming phase phi of t, and I am comparing this, the phase detector compares this phase with the phase of the VCO output, right, which is theta of t, right, and what does it do? It produces an output which is a difference of these two, phi t minus theta t, and then produces that phase detector output is proportional to the sign of this difference, right. So, not SIGN, but SINE, right, the sign function. So, there is a sinusoidal nonlinearity here. This would model your E sub dt. The output here will be precisely what we have described to be E sub dt, isn't it, except that there will be also a constant which is equal to half AC into AV into K sub d, right, as if there is an amplifier of this gain. Just to recap where it comes from, please remember that this was E sub dt, right. So far I have produced sine of phi t minus theta t. If I want to produce E sub dt the way I have depicted earlier, I must multiply this with this constant, right. So, I am adding a gain of this much in the block diagram. This is your E sub dt at this point. Following this, you have the loop filter. The output of the loop filter goes to the amplifier. Let us say the amplifier has some gain mu, right, and now what should I put between this point and this theta t to close the loop, and how will the VCO be represented here? The VCO is not being represented as producing an output which is sine omega ct plus theta t. It is now being modeled as producing an output which is equal to theta t, right, purely a mathematical model for what the VCO is doing, right. So, how is theta t related to this? This is E sub Vt, isn't it? The amplifier output is E sub Vt. How are these two related? Through the integral relationship. So, to close the loop, all I have to put is an integrator here with a constant K sub V. Do you agree with this? I think this should be fairly clear from the development that we carried out, right. So, this is a mathematical model which you can study to understand how this works and how precisely what it will be able to do and what it will not be able to do, right. Okay. Now, we will do our discussion in two phases. In phase 1, we will assume that somehow the loop comes in the lock, just to simplify our study, right. Somehow the loop is locked, and try to understand when the loop is locked, what is the nature of E sub Vt, right. That is phase 1 of our discussion. Phase 2 of our discussion obviously should try to tell us how the lock actually happens, right. So, should we do that? We will go through the discussion in two phases rather than trying to understand everything in one go. So, in the first instance, assume that the PLL, the phase lock loop, is operating in a lock condition. we can simply say that the PL is locked, PLL is locked, which essentially means, what is the meaning of this? This being in a lock condition, what we are trying to say by this is that theta of t is a good estimate of phi of t, right. That is what the lock condition means for us. It may not be exactly the same, but it is a good estimate of the incoming phase phi of t. This will imply in turn that the error between these two, if at all there is a difference, would be small, right. That is the meaning of a lock condition. So, phi of t minus theta of t would be small in the lock condition, right. And if that is so, we can approximate sin phi t minus theta t by phi of t minus theta t. You agree with that? Assuming that this is small. Now, when the loop is not in lock condition, we cannot say that, because this may be considerably large in that case. So, when the loop is not in lock condition, this approximation cannot be used, but when the loop is operating in the lock condition, it is convenient to use this approximation, because what it will do is it will convert this nonlinear model. Why is it a nonlinear model? Because of the presence of this function here, right. Otherwise everything else is a linear. If you look at the input output relationship, it is a linear system. Every block is a linear system, right. This is a simple amplifier, this is a linear filter, this is again an amplifier, this is an integrator, everything is linear, right. This is an adder, right. Everything is linear except for this block. Here the input is something and the output is sine of that. Input is some phi t minus theta t, the output is the sine of it. So, however, if I use that approximation, this also becomes linear. In fact, this goes, this is not even required, right. I am removing this, and that makes it a linear model for the phase lock loop. So, that gives us what is called a linearized model. Of the phase lock loop, and once you have this, of course, I think you don't have you haven't yet gone through a course on control systems. Once you have this, it becomes a very simple case of a closed loop linear feedback control system, right. It does not matter, we will not need that background, we will whatever we need we will develop it here, we will use it here. So, PLL becomes then a linear feedback control system. Right. And when you are working with linear feedback control systems, you will find that it is very convenient to work not only in the time domain that we have discussed, but in fact, it is more convenient to work in the Laplace transform domain, right, rather than just the Fourier domain. So, very briefly we will also work with the Laplace transform domain, although most of the time we will not. So, if I work in the Laplace transform domain, this linear model becomes something like this. In the Laplace transform domain, I will represent every function that I have been so far dealing with as function of s, right. So, instead of phi of t at the input, I will consider its Laplace transform phi of s as the input. Okay. Capital phi of s is the Laplace transform of the phase function phi of t, small phi of t, right. And here you will have theta of s, it is a capital theta of s. The sinusoidal nonlinearity now goes, right. I won't have been able to use this Laplace transform notation if I had the sinusoidal nonlinearity, because I won't know how to characterize that using the Laplace transformation, right. I can only deal with linear systems using Fourier transforms and Laplace transforms, right. That is the convenient thing to do. So, that sinusoidal thing goes because of this approximation, right. You only have the next stage, which is again half a sub c a sub v into k sub d followed by the loop filter, followed by the amplifier, let me simply call it gain mu, followed by the integrator. And your E sub V t is here. Okay. Yes. So, this should have been simply 1 by S, right. I should represent this as 1 by S. You are absolutely right. Now, since we assumed that the loop is in a lock condition, which means phi of t minus theta of t is small and some, let us say, constant value. So, what we are saying is phi of t is approximately equal to theta of t. This would in turn imply that d phi by dt is approximately equal to d theta by dt, right. But what is d phi by dt? D phi by dt is proportional to the message signal empty if the input signal is an FM signal, right, and d phi by dt is proportional to, sorry, d theta by dt is proportional to E sub V t, and since these two are approximately equal, what does it mean? That E sub V t would be approximately equal to the message signal empty, right. So, therefore, this output here is my demodulated output, right. This is the point that at the moment you need to understand, right. E sub V t represents my demodulated output. The point, therefore, I can summarize the discussion in the following way: when the loop is locked, since this will be so, this will be so, and therefore, E sub V t would approximate the message signal empty, and therefore, the input to the VCO is the demodulated output that you are looking for. Is that clear? So, we are therefore finish the discussion on what is what I mean, we have to still of course understand the mathematical analysis of this loop, which we will do as we go along, but right now, even without going through any mathematics, if we assume, we can conclude that in the lock condition the E sub the output E sub V t is proportional to the message signal empty that you are looking for in an FM demodulator, and therefore, the phase lock loop in a lock condition works like an FM demodulator. Okay. You all with me? Is there any question, any discussion at this stage? We have to still do the mathematics, right, but without the mathematics this is where it is. Okay. If there are no questions, let us proceed further, and the next step that we have to take up is how does the locking actually occur, right. We have to understand how does the PLL walk into a lock condition, right. So, we like to show that the phase error that we have at any instant, whatever phase error we have will tend to drive the PLL into a locked condition. Okay. That is the second stage of our discussion. We like to show that the whatever instantaneous phase error the loop has, right, or whatever error we have here, I should not be using this diagram, I should be using this diagram. Whatever error we have here at any time will operate in such a manner that it will try to drive itself to 0 or make itself small, right. The loop will work in such a manner that this error will tend to become small. The loop will tend to be in a lock condition. Remember, in doing that I cannot use the linear model, right, because initially the phase error may not be small, right. So, I must now work with the at this stage work with the nonlinear model. Once a lock has been achieved, we can work with the linear model, right. So, first let us try to understand this. To carry out this discussion, I will again, to simplify the discussion somewhat, I will assume that the loop filter is absent, right. Remember, there is already a filter which is inbuilt into the phase detector. There is a low pass filter there, right, that we are assuming is still there, but the additional loop filter that I have put here, right, is not there. When the additional loop filter is not there, we call this as a first order loop, right. As to why we call it a first order loop is something will become obvious later, but right now we will assume that this is absent. So, let me state this assumption. We will assume that loop filter is absent. First order loop, and we will find that the PLL works even when there is no loop filter, and then we will try to understand why a loop filter, in what manner a loop filter might help, right. At the moment we will assume that the loop filter does not work, is not present at all. So, this is for simplicity. Okay. So, we have E sub Vt equal to half mu times A sub C, A sub V, K sub D into sine of phi of t minus theta of t, right, and theta of t, phi of t is the input, theta of t is the output. Let me denote this complete thing as k sub d, as a constant k sub d, rather than carrying on all these constants with me throughout, right, k sub t. This t of course does not denote time, it just this t stands for total gain. You can think of this as some kind of a gain in the loop, right. This is a gain term, this is a gain term, well these are amplitude terms, but effectively they are coming in this product, right. So, this is called the loop gain, total loop gain, that is why I am putting k sub t. So, do not confuse this t with time, this stands for total. I could have probably put capital T to simplify, but let us keep it small t. So, k sub t integral of sine phi of t, phi of alpha maybe minus theta of alpha d alpha, right. Is there a, you see where is it coming from? We are looking at this output, this is the integral of this, right. Now, because the loop filter has gone, EVT is nothing but equal to E sub dt except for a constant mu, right. So, therefore, EVT is same thing as EDT except for including mu, right. I am able to do this because I am ignoring the loop filter, because I am assuming that the loop filter is absent, right. So, these two things become the same except for the constant mu.